welcome to Morning Movie News, where it's so cold in New York City that I'm wearing a frickin' scarf in the office and I feel like frickin' Bob Cratchit, but I don't want to get sick, so I'm wearing the scarf to be safe. So anyway, let's get on with today's movie news stories. And leading the pack is Batman v Superman, which continues to unfortunately be many people's favorite punching bag. This is just the hate that won't go away, right? I mean, the haters have already branded it like it's never enough, right? It's like the evil stepmother in Cinderella. It's just the fact that Batman v Superman exists seems to annoy so many people. They're like, you know what? I haven't tortured Batman v Superman today, or bullied it. Let's go do that for kicks. And it's just like, just leave Batman v Superman alone, right? I guess people are upset that they continue to make DC movies and that Batman v Superman did make a lot of money. It's like, it's unacceptable. So anyway, the latest development is that it's leading the Razzies. Well, not even the Razzies official nominations. This is just the ridiculous pre-nomination list, right? So basically what the Razzies are saying is these are the movies that are up for the Razzies. We've narrowed it down to this group, and then we're going to have a final list of nominations at the end of the month. And it's like, come on. And I think, I almost didn't cover this story because I felt like, who cares about the Razzies? Sandra Bullock did a great job going to actually accept her Razzie when she won the award. She actually showed up and claimed it, but I believe the same year she won an Oscar. So whatever, Hollywood's a tough business. Sometimes you're going to make a movie that's maybe not great, and then you might sometimes have a movie that people love, but some people just insist on picking on. But the reason I decided to ultimately cover it is because I'm going to discredit the list. Okay. David Ayer does not qualify. He doesn't even make the pre-nomination list for Worst Director. So any list of worst, any worst lists that doesn't even include David, it's down there for Screenplay. It's down there for Worst Picture, Suicide Squad. Margot Robbie is nominated for Worst Actress. I think that's not very nice. And Ben Affleck is nominated for Worst. It's almost like the Razzies. If they're not careful, they're going to become like the anti-DC awards, right? I think there are nominations on there that are just cruel, quite frankly. If someone said they would have put Jesse Eisenberg on there, and he is on there, I'd be like, okay, I'll give you that one, because that was like a real on-the-line performance, right? Like right on the edge. Like, I liked it in the theatrical cut, but when I watch the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, I do feel it's ridiculous. So, and he's not really playing a Superman villain. He's turned Lex Luthor into a Batman villain. So, I would accept that. But I don't accept any overall list that doesn't include David Ayer, even in consideration for Worst Director. Say what you will about Zack Snyder's directing. I enjoyed it, but at least it was coherent and told a story, right? I can't even say that about Suicide Squad. All right, so anyway, that's the first story of the day. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's just, as I said, I think it's cruel and unnecessary and simply not true. But, the DCEU can take heart in the fact that everybody really wants this Ben Affleck Batman movie. And there have been, he was on Jimmy Kimmel last night to promote Live by Night. And let's first talk about what he said, okay? So he said, quote, "I'm going to direct the next Batman. We're working on it. It's one of those things that's really frustrating because with Live by Night, it took me a year and a half to write it and get it ready, and I worked really hard. It's just nobody gave a crap. I edited for him. No one was like, where's Live by Night? But with Batman, I keep getting the where's the effing Batman? And I'm like, bro, I'm working on it. Give me a second. All right, so here's a couple of things. Well, first off, I think that, to be fair, in some interviews, he's personally hemmed and hawed about whether or not he's going to do the movie. So that's where a lot of the questions have come from, right? Maybe he's, it's very frustrating, I think, to jump into fandom, right? Comic book fandom and comic book movie fandom as a newbie, right? It's a crazy world we live in, right? And we are all used to it. But I can understand how weird it must be for someone to be like, why do you keep asking me about Batman? I make other movies. And it's like, I don't care about it. The other movies are good. but we need the Batman, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But I'd also like to point out that I thought it was kind of annoying that with this coverage, there's always the person who goes, I was like, where's Live by Night? And it's like, come on. You might have thought in passing I'd like to see Ben Affleck's next movie, but I highly doubt that anyone was like to friends, and like coworkers, like, when's Live by Night coming out? I mean, it just makes no sense. I think if you were asked point blank, are you excited about Live by Night? You might be like, yeah, I enjoy Ben Affleck's work as a writer-director. I'm curious to see what he's done next. But no one's like, I don't care what anybody says. No one has it on their calendar, all right? It's just not that type of movie. All right, so anyway, the reason that everybody's asking him about Batman is because it needs to come in here and save the DCEU. Maybe Wonder Woman will do it. But I think everybody, for the most part, except the stupid Razzies, that's why I think the Ben Affleck nomination is particularly cruel and not necessary. It's because everybody walked out of there liking Ben Affleck. Everyone liked Batfleck. Everyone loves Batfleck. It's a great idea. He does a great job in the role, and he really loves the role and relishes it. So people are like, since you're such a professional and you make such great movies and you have such passion for the character, we really need your Batman movie. That's, I think, part of adding to the people's desperation to get this movie, right? Like, and also I think there's some concern if, like, it waits too long, Like, will the DCEU still exist? Will it be maybe beyond repair? But I can see where Ben Affleck's coming from, because it would be horrible if it wasn't good. So get it just right, and when it does show up and it's a great movie, everyone will, they should come around. Although you never say never with the DCEU. There's just something about it that is just, cultivated, I think, an unfair amount of hate, where people just, want it to fail. It's just so horrible. It's so bad. It's so annoying. All right, so anyway, I think that's interesting, and I think it's funny that he said it. I think they should pick a date, lock it down, and start shooting it. And also they should control everybody else I've said this before, DC has no control over their people. I'd be like, Joe Manganiello, you're a supporting character in this movie. Shut the hell up and don't talk about it until we're actually doing it, right? Like, these things should all be going through main management at Warner Brothers. All right, so anyway, I'm glad that Ben Affleck has reaffirmed that he will be directing the Batman. I'm glad he's working hard on it. And you know what? I know it's annoying, but it's always better for people to be asking where your movie is than not, right? So I'd be like, you should love all those people. Okay, so anyway, that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story of the day is an interesting development about awards season. Now, when Deadpool got nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Comedy or Musical and also Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical, didn't win either, people thought it was just an anomaly. But Deadpool has continued to rack up nominations, and now it's racking up Guild nominations, which is very telling because it means that Deadpool could actually get an Oscar nomination, right? So it's gotten a Writers Guild nomination, and it's also now gotten a Producers Guild nomination. And since there's overlap in the people who vote, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is its own, separate group of voters. So everybody felt that the Deadpool nomination was just an anomaly. And also the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has been guilty of doing that in the past, where they nominate a crowd pleaser to try and boost ratings and to get Ryan Reynolds to come to their ceremony. And we'll talk about that in just a moment, because he certainly earned his ticket, or earned his nomination, or his ticket via nomination. But now that the Producers Guild and the Writers Guild is voting for it, it could very well, it didn't get SAG nominations. So, and actors are the biggest voting group in the Academy. So I don't know about its ability to win anything, or would it ever really win? Will it win the PGA or the WGA? Unlikely. But I think the nominations are a really nice step of recognition. So I think that's great. But Ryan Reynolds, interestingly enough, continues to queerbait people as Deadpool, and he's just going further and further. And I think that it would seem that it would lead to Deadpool having a male romantic interest in Deadpool 2, which would delight a number of people, but I don't know how other people would feel about it. Deadpool, had a kind of like a bro quality to it, like, bro, This is an interesting bro-centric episode because Ben Affleck said bro too. But there was like a frat boyness to Deadpool, and I don't know how that group would react to a bisexual, Deadpool becoming bisexual. But you had Ryan Reynolds in the opening, the La La Land sketch, in a romantic kind of situation with Jimmy Fallon, where he also spit, like, I think a lifesaver into his mouth, which was funny. But it's definitely, very much, queer baiting. Or it wouldn't be baiting if he actually goes through it in Deadpool 2. I don't know what's going on with him here. But also, I'm sure you've seen this, they got a tremendous amount of coverage, Ryan Reynolds and Andrew Garfield, when they kissed each other on the lips as Ryan Gosling was taking the stage. Obviously, I guess the narrative is that Andrew Garfield made Ryan Reynolds feel better for not winning, the other Ryan taking the award by giving him a big kiss on the lips. I don't know who instigated it. They just saw them in a lip lock behind Ryan Gosling as he took the stage with Blake Lively laughing. I'd be like, are you laughing like with tears in your eyes? Like, is your husband like secretly, maybe Ryan Reynolds is bisexual? I don't know what's going on here, right? So the other reason that this got a lot of coverage, in addition to them kissing, was that Emma Stone, of course, was asked to react to it backstage when she came off, with the win for Best, I think, Comedy Musical, and she, of course, won as well. So I think when they were at Entertainment Tonight, they showed them footage of that, and her reaction was Andrew Garfield, of course, she used to date for many years on The Amazing Spider-Man situation. That's how they met. She was like, no, he didn't kiss him, did he? And then she was like, he did. So everybody thought that was like a big, everybody wanted to see her reaction to that. So it's gotten lots of coverage, but the question is here, what is Ryan Reynolds' overall arching plan here? Is he queer baiting? Is he trying to say something? Is he maybe coming out, as bisexual? What's going to happen with Deadpool 2? Would Deadpool 2 be able to survive such a change? I don't know what's going on. But so far, so good for him. He seems to be, first a baby toe, then the full foot, now maybe a little bit up to the knee. He's wading deeper and deeper into these waters, and no one's telling him to turn back so far. But we will see. This is, I think, a much smaller audience, obviously, than the people who went to see Deadpool. That's one of the top 10 grossing movies of the year. So, but maybe also this is helping him with the guilds. Maybe this is what's contributing, because there's obviously a very big LGBT community within Hollywood who are a large number of voters. All right, so those are the three stories of the day. Now, the viewer question comes from Liam Callahan, who had a really interesting question. So Liam says, question, for TV-level actors, what networks are most likely to give actors the push they need to make the jump to film? Actors like Sarah Paulson, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Jessica Lange have received much critical acclaim for their work in Ryan Murphy's FX shows. But this has seemingly failed to do them any favors, as I like the British spelling of favors, by the way, Liam. Awesome! As they mostly continue to work exclusively on these shows. Keep up the good work. Smiley face. Jessica, thank you, Liam, for the great question and the kind words. Now, Jessica Lange has won awards. Cuba Gooding Jr. got a lot of praise, but didn't win any awards for his OJ turn. But Sarah Paulson, of course, is walking off with a ton of awards. Won the Emmy, just won the Golden Globe. Maybe she could jump to film. And she's been in a few films. She was interested, for example, in Carol, right? But the problem, I think, here's the situation, all right? So I think that they're on the right kind of network. FX, network TV is kind of hard to jump back, to transition out of. But if you're in cable or HBO, you can make the jump. But still, there's a stigma. You can see that even the Game of Thrones actors are trying to break through, and it's difficult for them. It's really hard to break out of television because the audience just categorizes you that way. Now, it's interesting because movie actors are able to go to TV and come back, so it's weird that I'm sure Sarah Paulson's like, John Travolta's a bad example because nobody really sees John Travolta movies anymore. But, let's say Reese Witherspoon, although Reese Witherspoon is struggling, we'll see how these upcoming things do. Like, for instance, Emma Stone and Jonah Hill have a show on Netflix coming up. Drew Barrymore is doing a Netflix show. So we'll see when we start getting a little bit bigger names, what the landscape is. But I think there are a couple of reasons that these actors can't transfer despite having really strong acclaim and ratings in television. All right, so the first is that, again, there's that stigma against TV actors, and people just feel like I shouldn't pay money to see them in a theater. We talked about with the Beauty and the Beast coverage the other day that there's two qualifiers these days for people to buy a movie ticket. One, spectacle, worth paying to see it on the big screen, and two, odds are I'm going to like it, right? So probably the odds are I'm going to like it thing would count, but these people detract from the spectacle argument because it's like, I can see that person on TV for free or for much less money because so many people buy their shows a la carte these days. But, I feel like if I go to see a movie with that actor in it, it's not worth me paying to see it on the big screen. I'll wait till it becomes available for streaming, and then it really is just kind of like more like a TV movie. Now, the other reason is, interestingly, with the Ryan Murphy crowd, is that they just are booked. You know, it's twofold. They're in this. It's like a subcategory. So it's two overall reasons, and then this one is divided into two as well. So number one, they're booked. You know, Ryan Murphy is very prolific, and these people are working on multiple shows. They're working on, you know, the crime story shows. They're working on the American Horror Story shows. You know, so they have a lot to do, and they don't have time. They don't need to go make a movie. They're getting a paycheck. They're getting satisfied as an actor. Now that leads me to the second one, and that's that television is a very rich landscape. Sarah Paulson will never get offered the kind of roles in movies that she does on television, particularly from Ryan Murphy. I mean, look, she was just like the ex-girlfriend in Carol with a couple of scenes. You know, you hire Kate Blanchett to be the lead, even though Sarah Paulson, I think, is perfectly capable of playing the lead in Carol and would do a wonderful job. But Kate Blanchett is the flashier, showier movie actress. So Sarah Paulson, there's no motivation for her to go to the big screen. The paycheck's not going to be the same because it's a supporting small role. I mean, I'm sure she takes movie gigs here and there, right? But I think overall, she's extremely satisfied creatively and financially in the space that she's already in. And she was very gracious, by the way, in her acceptance speech to Ryan Murphy, which I thought was very nice. Cuba Gooding Jr. is now in the circle, and so he was in American Horror Story, the latest thing. And I think Jessica Lange has just kind of faded away. I think she's like, you know, I think it never did progress for her, and so she was like, I'm going to leave on a high note. I just don't want to do this anymore. So that's really the situation. I think that, and an interesting person is Octavia Spencer. Octavia Spencer getting nominated for her work in Hidden Figures, but she hasn't really been able to go into movies very well. She still is in movies like you would never expect to see her in, you know, like in Divergent, right? Although Kate Winslet was in Divergent too. But Octavia Spencer, you know, she's an interesting, Kathy Bates too. You know, these are, maybe Octavia Spencer is the new Kathy Bates. Maybe she's going to be in that category. Maybe she should call up Ryan Murphy. But, you know, it's like they're character actors, they're a name, so the smaller movies want them, but the bigger movies don't for some reason because they don't seem big enough. It's hard. I think image is really important in Hollywood. Do you seem like, you know, what, are you a marquee name? Like, what level of project do you belong in? And so I think that Ryan Murphy gives those actors a home, and they don't need to move beyond it. And someone like Octavia Spencer needs to find a home because she's a wonderful actress, but I think that she isn't defined as to what space she belongs in, and that I think creates problems for her career. So I think it's really important, I guess the overall note is for every actor to be able to step outside of their own body and say, what is my image? How do I appear to the industry? How do I appear to fans? You know, to viewers? What is my thing? You know, it's like almost like cliques in school, right? You gotta have a clique. You gotta pick one. You know, everyone always likes to say, I'm above cliques. I don't, you know, I've transcended them. You know, a clique system exists for a reason. What table do you sit in the Hollywood high school cafeteria? All right, because right now, Octavia Spencer's eating her lunch in the hallway. She's not even in the cafeteria. All right, and it might seem cool, but it's not. All right, so write your thoughts down below. Thank you for your question, Liam. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please write down below, I think, today's top 3 stories, that viewer question from Liam, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.